Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
That one is drilled the opposite way. Ward's going to go back, and that ball's going to go. Home run. Randy Arozarena. And the Rays will grab the lead.
Randy Arozarena, 434 feet, 105 miles an hour off the bat, courtesy of Bally Sports Sun. Dwayne Stats with the call right there as the Rays get a big 2-1 win last night over the woeful Angels, and now 11 games over 500, still 8 back of the Yankees, but closing fast. And the Rays are playing pretty good baseball. They've won 8 of their last 10, and that's what's important. You want to score more than 2 runs off of Tucker Carlson Davidson with his 6.23 ERA that started last game, but whatever. The Rays get a win, and that's all that matters, and they'll get back after it again today. Welcome into the JP Peterson Show. My friend Nick Geddes from Outsider.com joining me here this morning, sporting his Man United shirt for a very big reason this morning.
Good morning. It was a great yesterday.
There's a victory for your Man United?
Victory, an unexpected victory, expecting to get absolutely just thrashed at Old Trafford by Liverpool.
Right, the best team in the Premier League.
At least in the last few years, yes. They go in there and they get a 2-1 victory with thousands protesting outside of the Glazers. Chants of Glazers out. We want you out, going out throughout the entire stadium. And they still pulled it off.
Were the fans, was it a bittersweet win for the fans, or are they like almost cheering against their team now?
No. You can do both things at once. You can root for the team, but you can understand they're going nowhere with the Glazers.
Like we do with the Rays.
It's I'd say it's a little bit different over there, but
I wish our fans were much more involved in our media, but unfortunately not so. But we're not here to talk about Man United. We're here to talk about the Bucs, the Rays, the Lightning still having their nice time off.
We're inching closer.
They're getting back to it soon.
I think it was October 6th, October 7th, something like that. Opening night.
The practice starts mid-September.
Yeah,
or early September.
We're going to be there soon.
There we go. Yeah, but yeah, we're going to get it. We're going to start today. By the way, Scott Reynolds going to join us at 10:30 from Pewter Report. He was at practice yesterday. TJ Reeves will join us as well. Bucs sideline guy will get his perspective on that woeful game up in Tennessee, but also looking forward as well to the preseason finale against Indianapolis, and we still don't know if Brady's going to play in that game, but we'll see. I will say this, Tom Brady was spot on yesterday. And it's interesting watching the national media, watched again this morning, someone get up and everybody's, the offensive line is in shambles. Brady took 11 days off. He never does that in training camp. That's so out of his realm. He doesn't do that. This is a totally different season. The Bucs are going to collapse, blah, 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 blah. And what does Tom Brady come out and do yesterday as if he doesn't know the entire world is watching him practice? He comes out and throws with a renewed vitality in his arm, as we said he would. And he's out there just throwing dimes. Ball doesn't hit the ground except for receivers when they drop it. And he's putting on a show in every phase of practice. And that's exactly what you expect from Tom Brady. Tom Brady was not going to allow any whatsoever negativity around surrounding his sabbatical for 11 days. He was not going to show any weakness to his teammates or the world that, in some way he's not going to be as sharp when he comes back. And I said this when he left. And look, 11 days off in the middle of training camp is the best thing that could happen for Tom Brady. And it's the best thing that can happen for Mike Evans. It's the best thing that can happen for Russell Gage. These guys do not need to be practicing right now. This is a time for evaluation of young players to find out who can make this team, who is the best 53 to make this team. And now it's time to start dialing it in and getting ready for the Dallas Cowboys on September 11th. And Tom Brady knows all this, and Todd Bowles knows all this. This veteran coaching staff knows all this. I'm not even sure Mike Evans, Is he really hurt? Probably not. But not in a real sense. No, these guys need to take some time off. They're getting older. You want to keep them fresh. This is about the regular season. And of course, Brady's going to come back with his arm renewed and more. Listen, if you've ever played quarterback at any level, if you've ever pitched, you take 11 days off, and especially from football where you're throwing every single day, sometimes hundreds of passes a day, your arm feels like you're 25 again. And that's exactly what they wanted from Brady. And I wouldn't doubt if some point at the middle of this season, if he takes some time off. I wouldn't doubt that at all. And not an extended amount of time, but I think they'll definitely be counting his reps during the regular season, during the off week and all those things. You know, he may take some maintenance time during the season. Who knows? You got to treat this differently. He's a 45-year-old quarterback, and I know he's Tom Brady and he fights father time, but this is, I think, just part of a new plan to not only keep him fresh physically, but mentally as well. There's no question in my mind that there is definitely an issue with his life-work balance this year. So while everybody, and I think I've kind of said this myself, this is an unusual template for Tom Brady. I mean, he is a guy that has to outwork everybody in order to get the results that he has to get. But he's also smart enough to know when to rest and what his body is telling him. And I think that in every sense of the word, mind, body, spirit, this was a 11-day sabbatical to renew all of that, to get his family in the right place, to get his arm in the right place, to get his body in the right place, to now go through a 17-week or 18-week grind of 17 games. And I think it was a phenomenal decision. And anybody who thinks this is hurting the team in any way doesn't know Tom Brady and doesn't know a whole lot about football. And again, we're breaking new territory here. We've never seen a 45-year-old quarterback play a regular season as a starter, and with this and coming off a season at 44 where he threw for 5,300 yards and led the league. I mean, this is uncharted waters. So there has to be some, if you're doing this the right way, there's got to be some unconventional things that you do to keep him fresh for this season. I think this was a pre-planned, brilliant idea for everybody. And again, mind, body, spirit. This is what Brady talks about, and this is what he lives, and this is what we've just seen. And I think the results are going to be spectacular.
I think too often, too, we put so much stock into training camp and off-season programs. Does any of this stuff really impact what goes on in November, December when we're in the middle of the season?
I think it's definitely important for younger players.
Maybe, but
absolutely for younger players, but not Tom Brady.
Not Tom Brady. And but I put it when people are trying to say this is bad for the Bucs in general.
No,
I mean, do I need to go back to 2 years ago? By the way, when we were still in the middle of COVID and it was like the worst it had been, and the season started, we had Tom Brady practicing in high school fields. Yeah. Right around town. Yes. We had helicopters looking for him at Berkeley. Yeah. We had him in parks. He was practicing in everywhere that he could find a field. Hardly what you would want for a then 43-year-old quarterback coming into a new system for the first time in 20 years, right? Yeah. How did that season end for the Bucs?
Hey, I think they won the Super Bowl.
I think they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I recall, I understand there were some growing pains that year, but the offense was among the top of the league.
By the end of the season.
And once it got going, boy, did it get going.
Yeah.
So, and I mentioned already yesterday about how the fact that, the Rams are one of the teams that just won a Super Bowl and they didn't play anybody in the preseason. So I just think this narrative about, they've got all seeing on the field now, I don't put much stock into it. I really don't, because these players are way too good not to figure it out. This isn't the Washington Commanders here.
Yeah.
And Carson Wentz taking an 11-day break.
Exactly.
And I have serious question marks about that. I have 20 years of history to go off of. With the other players, I have all pros. I have Pro Bowlers. I have grown men in the building who know how to get it done. How many guys in this building have won Super Bowls? Almost everybody on the team.
Almost everybody.
Just about.
Yeah.
Or has played meaningful playoff games.
And the coaching staff as well. Yeah.
And the coaching staff is experienced. This is typical off-season training camp chatter.
Yes.
And no one's going to be talking about this in November.
Yeah, everybody has to have an opinion on all these talk shows, and this is an easy kind of layup because it's lazy. It's lazy. Oh, he took 11 days off, so he's not going to be as sharp. No.
Yeah, and I was listening. I was listening to some guys on TV yesterday and today because this is all anybody was talking about. And I heard somebody on ESPN today say that this is the worst variation of the Bucs team since Brady has been here.
I think that was Graziano or Hasselbeck.
I mean, we've been saying on here, I think this is the best team they've had since he's gotten here. I mean, you could say, well, maybe Antonio Brown and Gronk, where they were on the field, that was pretty deadly. You won a Super Bowl that way. I get it. But I look at every single position. I go position by position when healthy. This team, to me, is the best variation of this team so far. I really don't see how you could say, oh, this is the worst team and he's going to have all these problems and there's all these. I just don't see it that way. I don't know where this narrative has gotten out with this team.
Well, I think when you're one of the favorites, people are always going to try to poke holes, right? They're going to try to look at, and you can, it's like yesterday. We laid out two separate narratives of the same team that you could look at, and you can look at it from a negative standpoint and say, well, there's question marks here in the offensive line, and there are. Absolutely, there are question marks in the offensive line. And I still say I think they should bring in a veteran center. I don't think I'm shocked that they still haven't done that. But again, these coaches, and this is getting back to Brady as well. Brady was practicing on high school fields with his teammates, but you know why? Because he knew he needed it. He knew he needed it because he's never thrown to a lot of these guys, and he had to get used to throwing to them. The point being, Brady knows himself. He knows when he needs work, and he knows when he needs rest, and he's going to get it done whatever the circumstances are. If it's in the middle of a pandemic and you can't work out at your own field, he's going to go and find in a high school field where he can work out with his players and get everybody in there. And when, he has, whether we believe this, it's not fact, but I think there's a feeling out there. And we've gone through all the sound bites and everything to kind of look at this. Are there issues with his family? That apparently there may be, and he needs to be with his family, and that's fine. And that's and if that's what he needs to do to get his mind, body, and spirit in the right place and his family in the right place, well, then that's absolutely essential to him playing well. If he's sitting out there for 2 weeks of meaningless training camp, where you're only going to get hurt. For the downside is much worse than the upside, and you can go spend time with your family to get your headspace right, which is going to make you a better player on the field. Then why not do it? Absolutely, 100%. And do you think and this is what's unique about Brady? If as you mentioned, Carson Wentz. If Carson Wentz does that, everybody rolls their eyes. Like, what are you doing, bro? I mean, any other quarterback in the league does that. In their situations this year. I mean, Russell Wilson's in a new place. Brady wouldn't do this when in his first year here. You can look at everybody, but Brady is a unique situation, and you have to treat it in a unique way. If you hold him to archaic standards of you got to be here every day at training camp, toes on the line. Like you think Shiano would ever allow something like this? No, because he's a meathead. Or I shouldn't say that. He's a nice man. But when it came to being a professional football coach, he was a meathead. He had no idea how to do it. He wanted to coach them like they were children. Doesn't work. So this is exactly what you would want for Tom Brady. When you take a step back and look at the situation and put it through a unique brush on this canvas and say, how are we going to paint this picture throughout training camp and getting him ready? Well, this is not a bad idea. And, and imagine the conversation that went on. And Tom's like, hey, listen, I'm trying to strike a work-life balance here with my family. It's a whole part of, I'm going to maybe do this a little bit differently than I have in years past. Maybe I don't have to be as maniacal with training camp as I once was. I don't think his preparation for game weeks is going to change any at all. No. I don't expect to see that anyway. So I think this was something that, if you're a mature organization and you're open-minded, when he comes to you with this, you go, that sounds right. That sounds really good. Let's go for that. Let's do that. And everybody's on the same page. And we even criticized them a little bit for not announcing this to the media. But as you look back, I think I'm not sure it would have hurt if they did it, if they announced early. Maybe it would have even been better because it wouldn't have been a shock to the system. But whatever, it really doesn't matter as far as the Bucs play on the field is concerned. It may be different in terms of what the media perceives, but as far as where the Bucs are right now, after seeing this practice yesterday and him coming back sharp as can be, of course, this was the right decision.
And all that matters again is he's back
and he's healthy. He didn't get hurt the last 2 weeks.
He's back. He's healthy. I mean, I saw people that were there at practice yesterday saying that he was as dialed in as he's been all camp.
We'll talk to Scott Reynolds about that.
There was just a completely different vibe at camp with him there. It's go time now. We know that we're 20 days, whatever, from opening kickoff here. He's going to be ready for that in Dallas. That's just all that matters at this point.
And even, we watched Blaine Gabbert and Trask have some good moments over the last 2 weeks. But in general, I mean, even the game, do you see how off target Gabbert was and how slow Trask was? And, when Brady's there, it's out in 2.5, 2.4 seconds, and it's on the money. Every one of those completions that Gabbert missed on third down, the one to Rudolph that he throws flat and late, the outside out to Scotty Miller, which is an easy throw. He doesn't miss those throws.
No.
They are right on the mark, and you're moving the chains, and the offense is going down the field. It seems like it's just – and it is. It's not a huge difference. It's a half a foot. It may be sometimes less than that in certain situations. But Brady doesn't miss. These other guys do. And that it sounds very simplistic, but there it is.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Gabbert and Trask, and particularly Trask, because I wanted to have this conversation today. I think it's worth having. We talked about who was going to benefit most from this absence.
Yeah.
Kyle Trask, right?
Hopefully.
I'm at the point now, after what we saw against Tennessee, and we didn't really talk about a lot about his play yesterday.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to talk with Scott about it too. But it wasn't nearly as good as it was the week prior. At all. And I could say that about every player mostly that played in that game on Saturday. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
But with that being said, if you're Kyle Trask, we've talked about it. This is his last time to show this organization what he is. Do they have something after Tom Brady retires? Is it Kyle Trask or not? This is all he has. I mean, if that's fair or not, it doesn't matter. He's got 3 games to figure it out.
Right.
And based on what I've seen so far in the preseason, what we've seen so far in camp, the answer is no on Kyle Trask, in my opinion. And I bring that up because I've been watching a lot more preseason football this year, and I've been trying to watch the quarterbacks and compare them to Kyle Trask. You go watch like a Kenny Pickett, for example.
He looks good.
He looks fantastic.
He's ready to play.
And by the way, he's playing with the same type of players that Kyle Trask is playing, so it's a good comparison. I go watch the guy Tyler Huntley for Baltimore.
Playing well.
He's like 29 for 32 through 2 games or something, and he's not even heralded as one of these future franchise quarterbacks. He's just a backup.
Right.
But he pops off the screen. Malik Willis pops off the screen for me over there in Tennessee a little bit. He has some buzz. He moves. He's hard.
But
he's slippery.
He doesn't know how to throw the football on his back.
Well, at this point, if you're asking me,
he doesn't get the football out.
If you're asking me at this point,
don't be fooled by running quarterbacks in the preseason.
If you're asking me who I'd rather take right now, I'd take Malik Willis over Kyle Trask. Based on it's just there's more buzz there.
Not me. No, Malik Willis, he runs around nicely and he has a good arm, but he has no clue when to throw it, how to throw it, where to throw it. And he's young, and I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but there was nothing from that performance. I was watching that one going, and I saw people going, "Oh, he's tearing up the Bucs team." I was like, "Come on!"
I think the week prior he was pretty good.
He gets on his back foot, doesn't find the read, and he runs. You can get 1,000 quarterbacks to do that.
Maybe. Well, the point being on that though, and I've brought up to you Davis Mills, who was taking 7 picks after Kyle Trask.
Yeah, now he's played in regular season games. We've seen that.
He's played in regular season games. Yeah. I think he's sneaky underrated, going to have a good year for the Texans.
If I'm saying, is he better than Trask right now? Oh, hell yes.
I'm trying to compare him to some of these younger quarterbacks, and I just don't see how Kyle Trask.
You know what the difference is with Trask right now? Is that ball's coming out in 3.4 seconds, not 2.5. Yeah. And he just doesn't. And this is the brilliance of Brady. And when you see it against all these other quarterbacks, Brady makes everybody else look better, especially the offensive line. You want to say, "Oh, this is the greatest offensive line ever." They only gave up 22 sacks last year, 714 throws, and that's true. The offensive line did a great job last year, but most of that is Brady. I mean, a lot of people can. If you only have to hold a block for 2.3 seconds, 2.1 seconds, you're not going to struggle that much. Because Brady knows exactly where the ball is going before he takes the snap. He knows where the ball is going.
Yeah.
You think Trask does?
No.
You think Gabbert does? Sometimes better than Trask. But that's the difference in so many of these guys getting the ball out. It's not that they're not quick enough to get it out. They just don't know where the ball's throwing. I mean, we all know that Brady came from the future and he studies the tape that he brought back with him. So he knows ahead of time what's going on. He's a time traveler. We realize that. But it seems that way, doesn't it? It seems like he knows exactly what's coming before it happens. And that's from exhaustive study. And it's so funny that the reason the New Orleans Saints get him is because they play undisciplined defense at times.
Yeah.
They do things that their defense is telling them not to do. They break their own rules because they know Brady knows their rules and what their coverage responsibilities are. So it's like a chess game, and it's kind of a a double entendre here. That's not the right word.
Yeah.
It's just like they're playing. They know that he knows what they're going to do. So they do what they're not supposed to do, and that will trick him.
Yeah.
And they'll get picks. And that's how you have to play Brady. It's risky business. It's risky business because if you break your defensive rules, you're also going to let people run free, and he's going to find them. So, but they've kind of figured out you either have to take those chances against Brady or you're going to get sliced up. And that's kind of the brilliance of their defense. But even that, after a while, Brady's going to figure you out.
Yeah.
He's going to figure you out.
And offensive line plays are important to this. And that's my next point here about Brady. The difference between watching Brady with this offensive line and watching Trask. I know they're different players, or the lines are different when they played. But, you go back to that game against the Rams, right? Because it's the latest example. The line was beat up, banged up. It was an awful day at the office for the offensive line.
Awful. For the offense.
Brady still managed to figure it out eventually,
That's right.
And they scored 27 points.
That's right.
And that's the difference there, too. Kyle Trask the other night, and I know the offensive line, again, was not great. I couldn't find you really one standout. Maybe Hainsey, Gedeke had his moments, whatever. But Kyle Trask has to figure out a way to recognize that pressure, maybe move out a little bit, scramble.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit too tied to the pocket right now and doesn't feel comfortable moving around. And that's part of it, though. And that's what you say. That's why it's so tricky. It's not as simple as, he had no protection. You kind of have to work your way out of that.
Absolutely. You got to figure it out.
Listen, Jameis did the same thing. Jameis had played under some bad offensive lines. There were some bad offensive lines.
He also made them worse by holding on to the ball and running around.
True.
Yeah.
But you have to give Jameis some credit. The guy knows how to get out of it. And the Bucs offense still managed to score 20, 30 points more often than not.
Right.
He figured out a way. Right now, gun to my head, Kyle Trask can't do that. He looks like the kind of guy that just has no feel right now. He looks like a guy that would probably put up, 10 to 20 points on offense rather than 20, 30, 30, 40 like these other guys.
It's hard to argue that right now because of what you're seeing. I've seen enough good stuff from Trask at times to say the jury's still out. I'm not closing the door. Feels like you're closing the door on him. I feel like so much of this is experience.
Can you imagine him throwing to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin,
well,
and
I'd
Russell
like
Gage
to see
next
that.
year?
I'd like to see that.
I want to see it in a
that's
game.
A dramatic difference.
If you're the Bucs, it's like, to me, turning your attention now to the Cowboys is the main focus. I don't need to see Kyle. I can't have Kyle Trask.
Oh no, his
time is up in my opinion.
Yeah, his time is his developmental time. It's right now. The whole focus is getting Brady ready, but I think you'll see some time against some scrubs of the Cowboys. But that's the other thing about Trask, and the reason I have to leave the door open is because one of the reasons that Brady can get the ball out in 2.5 seconds is because he's working with receivers that get early separation, and he knows the matchup where he's going to go, where he's going to get that separation, and where he's going to have a window to throw the ball. He's going to look at these matchups and go, okay, that's the one I want because I know Evans is going to beat that corner in that situation on that route 95% of the times. If he doesn't slip, he's going to be open. I know that Gage is great running that slant against that smaller corner. There's going to be a window right there, high and away from that corner who's playing that outside technique. He knows that before the hand. I know right there that Rudolph he's going to have a nice little release to the outside. That linebacker's playing inside technique. I can throw it over the top. That's where I'm going with the ball. So he knows already that's where he's going. And 95% of the time, those guys are going to win as expected because he studied the matchups. He studied the defense. He knows what he's going to see. Trask doesn't see that. And also his receivers like, well, do I know if Jarrett Stearns is going to be able to get away from that corner, that bigger corner in that situation? Do I know if Tompkins is going to be able to get off the press coverage of that bigger corner and get deep on that one? You just don't know because you haven't seen it from those receivers. You can't anticipate where that throw is going to go in 2.5 seconds. So he's, more often than not, he thinks he knows, but as soon as he hits his back foot and he looks there, he's like, oh shit, he's covered. Yeah. That we're second one. Oh crap, here comes and that's what it looks like. So I would love to see Trask work with the ones and we could get a much better feel for how he could actually play in the future. But, when's that going to happen? When's that going to happen? It didn't. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen the last 2 weeks. They may give him a shot in this particular game, but you don't want Evans and Gage and those guys out there.
No, he's not going to get any.
You just don't want to see that. So, that's why I'm still going to leave the door open for Trask. I've seen enough stuff in practice and in games where I think he at times he has the ability to make those throws and see those throws and anticipate the throws and get them there. But it's, the other part about it is you're comparing him to Brady.
It's hard.
And you're just like, man, it looks so much worse.
When you see him up close in practice,
it's like looking at a Van Gogh and a finger painting from a first grader side by side.
My painting.
Yeah, it's going to look worse than it actually is. It's just different.
Okay, but the counter to that is I can compare him to Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
I can compare him to Blaine Gabbert, and I can tell you even then there's a gap there.
Yeah, there's a gap.
There's a gap there. I'm not going to tell you how big it is, how small it is. I'm just telling you there's a gap there, and Kyle Trask to me hasn't even done anything to even compete with Blaine Gabbert.
Gun to my head, if I'm going to say, can Trask play in this league as a above average starter right now? That's a no for me. But I'm leaving the door open.
And Jason might leave the door open, but I have to think that's probably his answer at this moment.
Yeah.
And succession plan, there's always the Patriots had to go through it, right?
Yeah.
And they fell flat on their face first, thinking Cam Newton was the guy. Now they think they have it in Mac Jones. I think Jason, this franchise now has gotten used to this. Can't imagine that drop off next year. I just can't.
I tell you what, I would almost at some point this season, whether it's against Carolina or Atlanta with an open date coming up, I would like to see. I know this sounds crazy, but in a year where things are going to be different with Tom Brady, I would almost like to see Gabbert play with the ones, get prepared with the ones, and come out. Dude, if you can't beat Carolina or especially Atlanta, if you can't beat Atlanta with Blaine Gabbert, you have no business. I mean, no business.
Oh, they can't. Yeah, of course they can.
No business being in the Super Bowl hunt. I'm sorry. And I would, and people would say, oh, you're crazy. Why wouldn't you start the GOAT? Because you have to keep him healthy. You've got to keep him healthy, and not just healthy, but fresh as can be. And this is, this 11-day break. Look how he comes back. Look at how much juice is in his arm. Look how accurate he is. And when you're going down the stretch, that's going to be important. I mean, really important. And there may be, and listen, you think Brady's going to get through this whole year without having to sit for a hammy or, a bruise here or a bruise there or something happens? It might just happen. And I've said this many times, and I think the coaching staff believes this wholeheartedly, that Gabbert can get the job done. He's not going to be Tom Brady, but he doesn't have to be at Atlanta. Come on.
I thought you were gonna go down a different road there. You were gonna start telling me to get a look at Blaine Gabbert as the guy for next. No.
Well, that will be a residue of getting that opportunity. Listen, Gabbert is what, 30? What is he, 31?
He's like 32, 30, something like that.
Yeah, and he still has a cannon for an arm. He really does.
Sure, but as I've told you,
I would like to see him play with a. Everybody said that about Tannehill too.
Ryan Tannehill took the Dolphins to the playoffs. Let's not forget about that. He had some good years in Miami. Yeah. A little different.
Yeah. But Gabbert has never been on a good team, a good football team.
Fair.
Never. Not even a halfway decent football team. So I'm not sitting here saying, look, Gabbert's the end all be all heading down the road. And I know we'll hear from Scott Reynolds on this as well. But I also don't think he's trash like so many people think.
No, I told you, I think he's a top 5 backup in the NFL.
Yeah. Maybe the best backup in the NFL.
I think Mr. Huntley over in Baltimore.
Yeah, he looks pretty good. He looks pretty good. He looks pretty good. All right, we'll take a break. We are brought to you by Emerging Investigations. EmergingINV.com is their website. EmergingINV.com is their website, the #1 private investigation agency in Tampa Bay. If you have any issues and you may need them, you can reach them at EmergingINV.com. Scott Reynolds, Pewter Report, coming back after this. Stay with us. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595, or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Emerging Investigations. If you have an issue with a spouse and need to find out some reliable information, not snooping around social media or putting GPS trackers on their cars. Now, don't do it yourself. Get a professional private investigation agency to do it for you. That's Emerging Investigations. Local attorneys, insurance companies use them. You should use them as well. If you have any questions, do not take these matters into your own hands. Get some reliable information for life's biggest questions. It's Emerging Investigations, the #1 private investigation agency in Tampa Bay. You could reach them at emerginginv.com. All right, let's welcome in our good friend Scott Reynolds, the Pewter Report, who was in Nash Vegas for the whole week, and maybe partaking in some of the festivities down there on Broadway. What's up, Scotty? How are you?
Doing good, JP. How are you?
How was Nash Vegas? Did you see any good music acts? Get any
yes,
good barbecue? Any of that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm a Kansas City guy, and so I'm an expert on barbecue. That comes with the territory. And I had a revelation, and I feel really guilty about it. I feel ashamed almost. But I actually had some barbecue in Nashville that was better than any Kansas City barbecue I've ever had. Martin's Barbecue. I had the brisket. I had the ribs. I didn't want to admit that, but in the In the time-honored tradition of journalistic integrity, I had to tell it like it is and tell the truth. And it was indeed a little bit better. The ribs and the brisket were the best I've ever had.
Best you've ever had?
Yes, best I've ever had.
Where was this? Martin's
Barbecue. Yeah, there was a couple locations. One's right in downtown. Washed it down with a Yazoo Gerst, which is a Nashville brewed amber ale. Oh, so good.
So let's get a little bit into these ribs and brisket. What makes a good rib and what makes a good brisket?
I think for a good brisket, it's got to be moist. I do not like dry brisket. I know some people like to, like if it has to have sauce, you've cooked it way too much. Like I appreciate a good sauce on a brisket, which should enhance the taste and the flavor, not just make it better, right? I mean, or make it palatable. So the brisket itself, you should be able to take a piece of brisket, eat it, and say that's damn good brisket without one drop of sauce. And then when you apply the right sauce, it just, it's an explosion of wonderfulness in your mouth. And that's what it was. And so the brisket was incredibly moist, had a great flavor crust on the outside. And then the ribs, if they fall off the bone, you've done it right. And just the dry rub that they used, again, the moistness, it wasn't too mushy. It was the proper texture that you're looking for, but flavored well, fall off the bone, tender. It should melt in your mouth, and that's exactly what happened.
Man, I got to go now. I got to go get some barbecue. So what's your go-to barbecue place here in Tampa?
I don't really want to say because I don't want to, let's put it this way. When Holy Hog was around, that was kind of my go-to because that reminded me more of Midwest barbecue. That was my favorite. I do have a couple of different spots. I don't want to give anybody free advertising in this area. That's okay.
I got you.
Because we'd love to have them as advertisers and sponsors on PeterReport.com. But
text me later. All right, let's get into the football portion of this. And I know it's been a few days, but I still want to get your thoughts on just your overall, the week there in Nashville, the game, the practices, which are probably more important.
Yeah.
What did the Bucs learn about their players, their key players maybe, or some of the guys that are fighting for jobs?
Well, I'll say this. Robert Hainsey, I thought, had a really, really great week under the radar. And what I mean by that is you're not going to notice him. He's not a fighting ginger like Ryan Jensen is. He's not a Pro Bowl caliber player yet. He's not a ruffian who's going to push and shove and talk trash after the play. But it goes back to the old, John Madden description of a good offensive lineman. When you don't call their name, they did a good job, right? Meaning no holding calls, no false starts, no illegal hands to the face, no sacks allowed. And I thought Robert Hainsey in the one-on-ones and the 11-on-11s in practice, then in the game, I thought he played great. I really did. For who he is right now as a second-year player who's been thrust into the role of a starter, I think he's playing really good football right now. They have to be very pleased with where he's at. And I thought Luke Goedeke has made some strides. I think they're going to start Luke Goedeke in the season opener. He did have 2 holding penalties. He did, the sack wasn't entirely his fault, but he did get bull rush 6 yards back. We can't overlook that. They kind of collapsed the pocket. It was more maybe on Matt Wells and more on Kyle Trask for holding onto the ball. But I thought Luke Goedeke made some strides in Nashville, and his arrow is pointing up. I think he's going to be the opening day starter as long as he doesn't shit the bed on Saturday in Indy. I think that's the direction they're going to go. Overall, I think Rachaad White had a really good week. I thought that he had the fumble in the game, which is great. It's a great learning lesson. You don't want to see your players fumble, but I'd rather see him fumble in August than in September. He held the ball high. The problem is it wasn't tight. It was high and out wide, easily punched out. That's a great teaching tape moment that he put out there for the coaches in his fumble in Nashville. So those are a couple of the guys there. And then on the defensive side, Olakunle Fatukasi. This guy should make the team. I mean, once again, just filled the stat sheet up. 9 tackles, I think 6 or 7 solo, a sack and a half. He and Jotron Shoyinka were the big standouts for me on the defensive side of the ball. Great to see JTS go out there and get some reps he needed. He flashed. He was all over the field. When he was out there, he was the best player on the field.
And we talked a lot about Kyle Trask in the first segment and kind of saying, this whole absence of Brady, who would it benefit the most, you hope?
Yep.
And it would be Kyle Trask. And we've mentioned it. I've heard you mention it. This is almost like his last shot to almost prove to the Bucs he could be a viable option next year.
Yeah.
After 2 games, I said, I'm almost completely closing the door on him being a viable option because I've been watching all these other quarterbacks play with similar talent, lesser talent, backups. Sure. I've thrown Kenny Pickett's name out there, who's looked fantastic with backups. Tyler Huntley. There's a lot of other guys out there. I don't see it with Kyle Trask. So where do you think he's kind of like struggling right now? And do you think the Bucs still think he could be a viable option next year?
Well, I'm with you, Nick. I like the names you threw out. I'm going to throw another one out just because I'm a Wildcat loyalist. I'm a Kansas State alum. Skylar Thompson. Okay. I thought he outperformed Kyle Trask in the Dolphins' victory. And then I don't know if you checked the stat line, but in the most recent Dolphins game, he was 9 out of 10 for 129 yards, 1 touchdown, no turnovers. And to me, I think that the Buccaneers drafted Kyle Trask to be another Brad Johnson. I think he's closer to Trent Dilfer than Brad Johnson. And what I mean by that is Trask has some turnover type plays. Now, there was a fumble. It wasn't entirely his fault. He did recover it, took a big shot to the ribs. He did have an interception. He was hit as he throws. But Trent Dilfer had a lot of those plays. They were kind of like unforced errors. So it wasn't entirely his fault, but yet they were still errors on him. And you didn't see that happen with other quarterbacks. And it's like a little black cloud. And I see this black cloud over Kyle Trask. And I don't want it to be there. I want him to do well for the Buccaneers' sake. I mean, I'll be skinning the game, but I mean, for their sake, I think that they would want him to be that guy. But for whatever reason, the pocket presence, hanging on to the ball too long, bad luck, whatever you want to call it, those kind of things happen. And they haven't happened to Skylar Thompson. They haven't happened to the quarterbacks you mentioned. Tyler Huntley, has a very impressive preseason so far. So it's just like Rondé Barber, right? JP, you and I covered every second of Rondé Barber's career in Tampa. And he wasn't Rondé Barber in 1997 as a rookie, but he was Rondé Barber at the end of 98. And then 1999, he became Rondé Barber for like the next, 28, 29 years, however long he played. I mean, he was Rondé Barber, right? And he was a ball magnet. Just good things happened around Rondé. He was at the right place at the right time. A lot of that was preparation. Some of it was luck, and you need luck in football. And for whatever reason, Kyle Trask is like kind of the opposite, almost like Aqib Talib, right? He's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Happened here in Tampa, happened out there with his brother, just a little bit of a black cloud around Aqib Talib. And I just think that with Kyle Trask, enough bad things happen to make you go, ugh. And it just reminds me so much of Trent Dilfer in that way. And we all know how that ended. It didn't end very well for Trent in Tampa.
Yeah, I'm not closing the door on him. I think I've seen enough good stuff from Kyle Trask, but there are those lingering things.
Yeah. He's shown improvement. He's under contract for 2 more years. When I mean the Kyle Trask experiment is over, which I wrote in my 2-point conversion column, I don't mean he's done as a Buccaneer. The arrow is pointing up. I just don't know how far that arrow goes up.
Yeah,
right.
It seems lower.
He didn't beat out Blaine Gabbert this year, right? So you can't be number 1 until you become number 2. So he's still at number 3 for another year. Is he better? Yeah. But I think you could say Blaine's better. He held on to the job. And so, but in 2023, you can't sit there and make the leap from number 3 to number 1. You just can't. And he's not going to get enough reps this year in practice to properly develop. So this is the experimental time with Kyle Trask. He'll have maybe they'll give him the second half of the game. Maybe they'll give him the fourth quarter, whatever. But Tom, I believe, is going to play. Blaine is probably going to play a series or 2, and then Trask might get the rest of it. But I just don't think he has done enough of staying away from the takeaways and the turnovers to say that he is going to be the number 2 quarterback. And more importantly, that he is a viable candidate to be the starter post Tom Brady, whenever that is.
Scott Reynolds joining us here from the Pewter Report. You and I are big Blaine Gabbert fans, as big as you could be over a backup quarterback. But
Blaine train, yes.
Yeah. I was disappointed in him on Saturday night when he missed Miller. He missed Kyle Rudolph. He threw that ball flat and late. And I just wanted to see him do what he did in the first game against the Dolphins, and he didn't do it. I was disappointed in that. I wasn't there in Nashville. Was he better in the individual drills, the one-on-ones? What did you see there?
I would say he was great on Wednesday's practice, and actually Kyle Trask was great too. Both those quarterbacks were great on Wednesday. Thursday they both stunk. It just did. They didn't make plays. They made a few bad plays, each one of them. It was a step back for both of them in that regards. The thing with Blaine is, and you're talking about the Scotty Miller play, the out where it would have been a first down. The problem is with these short, small receivers, and the Bucs have a lot of them, right? They've got Scotty Miller, you've got Kalen Geiger, Jareth Stearns, Devin Tompkins, Jalen Darden. You get 5 really small receivers that unless they get enough separation, that's the key, enough separation to where the quarterback feels comfortable with making that throw. I think Blaine threw that ball out of bounds on purpose because Miller wasn't open enough.
Yeah.
And you've got such a short catch radius. That's the problem too. And I'm always in favor of bigger receivers. All right, I just am. I mean, Julio Jones all day long, right? Mike Evans, sure, please, thank you, more. Chris Godwin is only 6'1", 205. He plays like he's 6'3", 215. He just does.
Exactly. Yeah.
Russell Gage seems to play bigger than he is too. He plays like a 6'1" wide receiver. I think he's 5'11". So I like receivers that play bigger. And to Devin Tompkins' credit, the dude's 5'7". He plays like he's 5'10". It doesn't sound like much, but it is. But the problem is you have to, with those smaller receivers, they have to get open, because when you're a bigger bodied receiver, even when you're covered, you're open, right? I mean, how many times have we seen Mike Evans just, mossed or out leap or out muscle a guy for the ball? And I think that on that particular throw for Miller, I'm actually going to say good play by Blaine Gabbert.
Okay.
He attempted to throw, and it was out of bounds. It wasn't a great showing by Blaine Gabbert. I'm not going to be a Blaine Gabbert apologist.
There were 3 other guys open on that play as well. Everybody was open because they were blitzing.
Right, and that's part of it too, is finding the right guy. I will say the advantage that Blaine has is he probably made the wrong read on that play, but he threw the ball out of bounds, and it didn't end up in a sack or a takeaway. Kyle Trask's problem right now is trying to find the open guy, holding onto the ball too long, and then he gets sacked.
Yeah. Scott Reynolds joining us here, Pewter Report. We've heard a lot about the left guard situation. I don't think Stenny was going to win it. I think you agree with that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk that Gedeke was horrible the other night. I turned on the tape. I didn't see that. I saw him moving people in the run game. I saw him bouncing up to the second level and taking linebackers out. As you mentioned, that sack I don't think was really on him. The 2 holding calls I thought were garbage. One was totally garbage.
Yeah.
So I thought he played a lot better than maybe this narrative that's out there. And I do see a lot in this kid. I think, and the practices that I've been at, I think he's been really good. As a young kid to be able to move grown-ass NFL players the way he does, it kind of reminds me a little bit of what I saw from Ali Marpet early on in his career. So I like this kid. I know it's a big transition. You've talked about that, but I think, and there's going to be growing pains, but I think at this point, he's their best bet. Now, I would, if it were me, I'm still a go get J.C. Treader, move Hainsey to left guard. I think we're a much better offensive line, but obviously that's not happening for a reason.
Right.
So, which I don't know, and there's a lot more information involved. So, but what do you think about Gedeke at this point?
I'm in favor of starting either Nick Leverett or Gedeke against Dallas in week 1. I just am. I think Leverett is the safer option. At the same time, you're going to accelerate Gedeke's learning curve by playing him. He's not going to get better standing on the bench, standing on the sidelines or on the bench, watching Nick Leverett out there. It just doesn't happen. You got to have the live reps. So again, I think unless the disaster happens in Indy, he's going to be the starter. I agree with you. I think one holding call was kind of merited. The other one was very questionable. With Gedeke, the book on him coming out of Central Michigan was he just gets his hands out too wide. If he gets his hands inside, he's golden. But in the NFL especially, and there was one play where he had an obvious holding call that wasn't called, where he's pulling for Rachaad White, and he literally has the defensive lineman by his shoulder pads on the outside like this. Yeah. I'm like, wow, you didn't call that. That was really bad technique. But again, it's a technique thing. It's not an effort thing. It's not a can't do it physically thing. It's just a technique thing. And so I do like the upside. Again, he's making the transition from right to left, which is an exact opposite from a mirroring standpoint, right? That's hard enough as it is. It was easier for Ali Marpet going from left tackle to left guard, right? Left tackle at Hobart College, left guard, because the steps and the footwork were the same thing. You're on the same side. Now it's the opposite. You're having to step and punch with your opposite hand from what you've been used to. So it's from right to left, tackle to guard, Central Michigan to the NFL. Those are 3 big hurdles that he's trying to jump over right now. And I think the kid's doing a pretty good job. Again, you look at the first quarter, there's nothing wrong with Gedeke's play.
Right.
It just, in the middle of the second quarter, things became a little unraveled for him. That's okay. Again, just like Rachaad White, you want this to happen now in the preseason in a game that doesn't matter, doesn't count, and you make those corrections, and then you hope he's better in Indy, then you hope he's better in Dallas, then you hope he's better in New Orleans, then you hope he's better in Green Bay, and on through the season.
And so now we have 32 guys left to go that they have to cut right before they get to the 53. I think this is like maybe the hardest Bucs roster to make. You could probably make an argument, and there's a lot of guys I've heard you talk about, and we've talked about, like a Pat O'Connor, who's had a really good camp, a Sinat, who's down in their defensive line as well, Fadu Kasi, Devin Tompkins. Which of those guys, or if there's another guy, do you think has the best spot or the best opportunity to almost steal a roster spot from somebody else there?
I mean, I think that the one battle to watch is Fadu Kasi versus Grant Stewart. Now, the Bucs coverage units have been disastrous. We saw that in Tennessee on those punt returns, especially. That's where you miss a guy like Grant Stewart. The problem is Grant Stewart simply cannot play on defense. This is not just my opinion, folks. This is what I would call an educated and informed opinion, if you know what I mean. Okay. So he can't play on defense. He is a liability. He is strictly a 4th down player. I think the Buccaneers, if they were down, like if Devin White and Levante David got hurt in the same game, knock on wood, that never happens, and they were down to KJ Britt, and let's say for whatever reason Fadu Kasi's not on the roster, I think they would go dime and bring in an extra defensive back rather than put Grant Stewart in the field. Okay, but he is special on 4th downs as a coverage guy. And so for me, I wonder, Fadu Kasi is, in my opinion, better than Britt as the 3rd linebacker on this team. He's just more athletic. He's faster. He's just around the ball more. And honestly, I thought with Tennessee's run game and their heavy and jumbo packages and double tight ends, this would be a game where KJ Britt would kind of shine as that Mike linebacker. And he got 3 tackles. Fadu Kasi was just all over the field, 9 tackles, sack and a half, just everywhere. So the big battle for me is, do they keep 5 linebackers, 5 inside linebackers they did last year? Because you had Minter at 3, and they kept both rookies, Britt and Stewart. Do they keep 5 again, or is it Fadu Kasi or Stewart? The thing with Stewart, too, is as good as he is, he's not on the field right now. He had a hip injury last year. He had an elbow injury. The hip injury required surgery. He's had a hamstring injury in camp. It caused him to miss the second quarter on in the first preseason game. In this game, you can't help the club in the tub. And I just wonder if they think, well, this guy's undersized and he's not going to be able to stay healthy. And if that's the case, you got to move on.
But do you think that would also maybe help him in a sense, because the punt coverage team was so
That's what I'm
bad
saying. It's
the other night.
Yeah.
I mean, does that kind of him go like, hey, look what they're like without me?
That's right.
Do we? I mean,
it's going to be interesting to see, especially in week 1 when Turpin was just going nuts the other night with a 98-yard kickoff return and an 86-yard punt return for Dallas. Right, that's got to scare you a little bit. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be interesting to see. Do they keep 5 linebackers again, and they just say, Grant, get well soon. You're special enough to go down there and cover kicks, and that's going to be a roster spot. I think Grant Stewart last year was the 53rd guy on the team all year long. And I think that he earns a spot there too by default, like you were saying, just because the coverage units on this team continue to be awful.
Scott Reynolds, Pewter Report, joining us here. I think we've broken like 10 major laws here by not mentioning the name Tom Brady for 23 minutes here.
Yeah.
So we'll get to it here. My entire monologue was about, hey, this, as I see everybody on ESPN and Pro Football Talk losing their minds about this 11-day sabbatical that Brady took. For me, this is the best thing he could have done. I think it's tremendous, keeping him away from football for a couple of weeks for his mind, body, and spirit. You saw his arm yesterday looked electric with the time off. and you knew it would.
Yeah.
He must feel like a whole new man. I think it was a great decision. I think it
Sure.
benefits the Bucs tremendously.
It does.
There's no drop off whatsoever. Your thoughts?
Right. Yeah. Let's not forget, in 2020, Tom Brady had 0 preseason reps. Of course, nobody did because there was no preseason thanks to COVID, right? There was a truncated training camp. Go back to 2020, man. There was a 2.5-week training camp. That was it. It wasn't 5 weeks long like it is right now. It was half of that. And Tom Brady, the first time he put on a Buccaneer uniform outside of the photo shoot for the team's website was suiting up against the Saints in week 1. That's the first time he actually threw to Mike Evans in any sort of game outside of a practice, whether it be at Berkeley Prep or whether it be at One Buck Place. So, in my opinion, and if my memory serves, they won the Super Bowl that year. So yes, I'm not concerned about a Tom Brady now that is in year 3 of this offense, where he's mastered it to the point where he led the league in passing yards and touchdowns last year at age 44. So I'm not concerned about Tom Brady at all. They had to find out about Kyle Trask. That was kind of the unspoken theme of training camp. And you're not going to find out about Kyle Trask if he's relegated to third string reps. So Tom being absent, honestly, was probably part of the plan. And I think that they got an extended look at Kyle Trask in practice and certainly in these preseason games. And now I'm even fine with Tom Brady not playing on Saturday against Indy. I think he probably wants to just because he's Brady. If they hold him out and say, no, you're not going to because we don't want a Aaron Stindy situation happening to you, I'm okay with that too. Again, this is a guy in year 3, and people are going to say, well, what about his rapport with Russell Gage? And Russell Gage didn't play in Saturday's game either. He was out injured. So like that's not an option. What about Julio Jones? They're veterans. They'll figure it out. I'm not worried about Tom Brady at all. Keep in mind, there's an extra bye week now between the third and last preseason game and the regular season. So you're going to have even more practices to get all that timing down. I don't have a problem with Brady playing or not playing on Saturday.
Well, Scotty, one more question for you, kind of along the lines of the ribs and the brisket. We've seen the best you've ever had.
Yeah.
Cam Brate's mustache.
It's top notch.
It's the GOAT.
It is.
It's the GOAT.
Yeah, it really is.
Sorry, take a back seat.
Yeah.
This is the best stash I've ever seen. I mean, quality, quantity, coiffness.
It's top notch.
Unbelievable.
It deserves a medal, an award, at least a certificate of appreciation, suitable for framing. And not just that. Like like whenever I see Cam with his helmet on, like I envision him like in a red and white pinstripe suit, getting ready to like join a barbershop quartet. Like yes. I'm wondering where are the 3 other people and why aren't you in harmony by now? Like that's what I'm wondering when I look at him, because like I'm just thinking, I don't know if he can carry a tune or not, but in my head, I'm fantasizing about Cam Brate humming and it sounding really, really good. And I'm fantasizing about 3 other guys in perfect harmony and Cam Brate having a seamless transition from the football field to becoming like a
Main Street quartet at
a barbershop quartet going mainstream. What was the name of the singing show with the girls and Rebel Wilson and Pitch Perfect?
Pitch Perfect, yes.
Yeah. I'm envisioning Cam Brate finding 3 other people that look like him that can really carry a tune and just doing like an all male version of Pitch Perfect with a barbershop quartet and bringing that back.
Fantastic.
I think he can do it.
Absolutely. All right. Tell the folks how they can get all the Pewter Report content.
Well, you can do it on pewterreport.com. You can also follow us on social media. We're over 50,000 Twitter followers now, thanks to you awesome Pewter people. At Pewter Report on Twitter, at Pewter Report on Facebook, at Pewter Report on Instagram. We've made it very simple for you to figure that out. And then on YouTube, it's Pewter Report TV. We do these awesome podcasts, hour-long podcasts, talking about your favorite team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 4 times a week. We're going to be doing them today, Wednesday and Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern. Then we have our Pewter Postgame podcast. All these are found on Pewter Report TV on YouTube. So go ahead and join our 9,000 and growing group of subscribers. They say subscribe, JP. It's actually free. You hit the button. There's no subscription price. I don't like the word subscribe, but that's what it means to join, to follow, whatever. You hit the subscribe button and become one of our over 9,000 Pewter people who are following Pewter Report TV on YouTube.
Awesome content, my friend. The best in the business. Appreciate you, Scotty.
Love getting on your show, guys. Yep, we'll see.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Great Scott Reynolds. Our numbers go up when Scotty comes on. Big time. We love it. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back for our second hour, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. They got great weight loss programs going on right now with big discounts. So contact Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, for more information. Back in a few. Stay with us. JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or italianoinsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Christopher Lugo and his medical team over there will get you right with a personalized plan to optimize your health in so many areas. If you want to lose weight, they got some great plans going on right now, and then give you a nice discount if you mention the JP Peterson Show. Also, if you're looking for testosterone replacement therapy, not just the older guys, but the younger guys, studies show guys 16 to 39 in America here, their testosterone has absolutely plummeted the average levels because of the stress in our society, the diet that we eat here, lots of different things. But you younger guys out there may be suffering from a low T as well. So check it out. Go get your numbers done, BAMMC.com. They'll get your blood work done and put you on a specific plan just for you, a personalized plan at BAMMC.com.
Breaking news.
We got breaking
program.
news. I love breaking news.
Breaking news. Can I do the ESPN thing?
Yeah. Breaking news alert.
Kevin Durant staying with the Nets.
Kevin Durant is staying with the Nets.
There's your breaking news. For all you NBA fans out there who are so interested in this saga, it is ended. They put out a statement here. Steve Nash and I, owners, yada yada yada, they are moving forward with their partnership. So he is officially off the trade market, and it looks like we are getting the Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. What is this, year 3, year 4 of this partnership?
So what's he going to do with Brady's house that he bought in Boston?
I don't know. He ain't going to Boston now.
That's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Was it going to end any other way? I mean, think about that.
Because nobody wanted him.
Well, nobody wanted to pay the price for him. Let's be
anybody
more
wants
specific.
to deal with him.
Oh, I think that's a huge part of it. I think some of the price might be okay for somebody who is not such a temperamental diva. You know, look, his talent is unquestioned. At a time, I think there was a time where he was the best player in the league.
There was, yes.
I think that time has passed, by the way. But I just don't think he's as valuable as he once was. And I guess you'd have to say, without question, without Steph, without the surrounding cast with the Warriors, he's not done much.
No. And I'll tell you what this
from a team success
standpoint.
This
also means is that means Kyrie Irving will not go to the Lakers. And the Lakers now, I can't believe this, but are have to run it back with LeBron, AD, and Russell Westbrook again.
Yes, but Darvin Ham says he's got all the thing figured out. He's got it all figured out. You got it all wrong with Westbrook.
I do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the key to unlocking.
Prove me wrong, Darvin.
He's got the key to unlock the Westbrook mystery.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Bermuda Triangle as well, and who built the pyramids for real. I want to know.
And I'm really going to believe
because I don't think you got the answer to that, pal.
I'm really going to believe that team when Juan Toscano Anderson is my sixth man coming off the bench. I'm really going to be believing in it then.
Well, maybe if LeBron took less money, they could have gone out and got some other players like Harden did.
Perhaps.
Yeah, they could have been, but that was never an option. Never an option for LeBron to take less money because he needed the money.
Isn't he
already?
He's already a billionaire, right?
Yeah, he's a billionaire. Yeah. I mean, it just feels like he's hanging around until Bronny comes in and they can go play with.
And then he says it won't be about the money. He's
then
already
it
said
won't be about the money. But right now, I got to get my $97 million over the next couple of years.
It's clearly about the money for Bronny. Have you seen the updates on him?
No, I saw him dunk the other night. It was pretty sweet.
The two teams that are intensely going after him are Oregon and Memphis. Now, we already know Oregon, the Nike connection.
Right.
Clearly, they throw a bag at him. And then Memphis, we already know what Penny Hardaway has done with elite players.
Yeah.
Under the table throwing a bag.
Oh, well, he didn't have to do it under the table anymore.
Any coincidence the two teams going after him are probably the two teams that could give him the most money?
What do you think Bronny's NIL deal's going to be?
On 3.com, they have NIL valuations. I was looking at this the other day. His valuation, I think, is almost $7 million.
That's cheap. That's cheap.
I think it's more than any player by a good margin in college basketball.
The problem is you can't, the NIL deal, if you're a business, if you're Nike, $7 million is cheap for Bronny. I mean, think about what a marketing package you get there. You get LeBron's name with a younger player that will obviously relate better to younger people who are buying the shoes and everything else. I mean, wow, what a absolute home run the marketing that is on so many levels. So $7 million's cheap. And then, my thought was, is he even going to go play college basketball? Why would he do that? Why would he?
I thought he never was, but now it's looking like he might actually.
Why didn't he go right to the G League? Because he can make more money in college with an NIL deal. That's why. Well, if he goes to the G League, Nike can sign him anyway and pay him whatever the hell they want to pay him.
I'm going to forget about him immediately if he goes to the G League.
I know that's the problem. I could fix college basketball in a minute. They just let me, Let players go to college basketball and stay as long as they want and get paid their NIL money and get paid by the NBA while they're playing college basketball. Why is this such a thing? It's not that hard to do. And I'm telling you, guys would stay in college much longer than they would because they want to take the money right away. And maybe kids will stay longer in college now that they're going to have money with NIL deals. That'll be good. And I think you'll see more kids do that because kids don't want to go play in the NBA. If they could choose to play in college basketball and be around their age group and experience the college basketball thing and still make money, I think tons of them would. Timmy Duncan did that and turned down the money. He loved the college experience. And I think so many of these kids go to the NBA and they're so out of place culturally and socially. It's tough for them. I think they would stay. But $7 million. Yeah, that's cheap.
Yeah. I don't know. There's no precedence for a college basketball player of his, I don't even want to say stature because it's not like he's like a top 10 recruit, but just he's LeBron James' son.
He's a good ball player.
He's a good player, but he's not a top 10 recruit kind of that. I think he's like I think he's almost like in the 40 to 50 range nationally, but he's LeBron James' son.
How big is he?
What is he, like 6'2", 6'3", maybe?
He seems to, when I see him play, he
still looks like he has more to fill out, though.
Yeah, of course.
He clearly can. He has hops.
Yeah.
Clearly has hops, though.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting to watch. Because, I mean, obviously, LeBron's got, it's during the same type of, during the NBA season, but he's going to find time, I'm sure, to take the private jet to watch Bronny play.
Yes, and can we please normalize, by the way, not freaking out every time LeBron wants to cheer on his son?
Yeah.
At a basketball game. Like, if you want to poke holes in LeBron and other things, okay. But that's not the one.
What about the histrionics that come along with it? Like, it doesn't seem like every time, and I'm sure we're getting these select clips because he's jumping around doing stuff. But I guess I'm sitting there saying, hey, don't get excited when your kid dunks a basketball. I mean, when my kid did something good on the football field or basketball court, my daughter, I mean, I got excited. I jumped up and cheered. I didn't run around, the gym like he does sometimes. But I don't want to criticize him. Yeah, that's true. I guess you get excited, but if you're LeBron James, everything's overboard.
He's an easy target to go after.
Absolutely,
it's just is what it is. But
yeah.
But anyway, there's your.
Maybe I'd run up and down the court if my kid was going to bring me $7 million or bring him $7 million, maybe I'd get a little bit more excited.
Yeah.
So,
But
I don't
anyway,
know.
there's your
damn kid, come on, Cullen and Shea, what the hell's going on?
Anyway,
Give me
there's
a little
your
bit more.
there's your 10 minutes of NBA talk today. We'll see you probably on opening night next time.
Well, but just real quick, I mean, if you're New Jersey, why would you want it any other way? I mean, give it a chance.
Ben Simmons is still there, by the way.
Yeah,
we haven't
give it a
we haven't
chance.
seen that variation yet.
Give it a chance, and like, how about y'all just shut the hell up and go out and play, play basketball. Just go out and work on your game, Ben Simmons.
All these
work on playing together, guys. Get the F off social media. Get in the freaking gym. Go to training camp. Bust your butt. Take a goal that you want to freaking limit all the distractions. Stop all the bull crap. You don't have to worry about the vaccine stuff, I hope, this year. God forbid, they're still not going to let Djokovic play in the U.S. Open. Can you imagine this? How freaking stupid. Unbelievable. What we know now about all the vaccines and everything else, we're still going to not let him play in the freaking U.S. Open? Whatever. Hey, why didn't you just come through the southern border? I mean, just come on through, bro. You don't have to do it. They'll even bus you to New York. They even put you on a plane. It's free. I mean, it's easy. He just needs a better agent. That's all. He just needs a better plan. Don't come through the regular place. Just come through the southern border. They call the cartel. They'll take you, and then they'll put you on a bus right to New York. Boom, you're at the Open. What's the problem? Easy. All right. TJ's coming on 11:20.
11:20. He'll be joining us here.
11:20. But yeah, I mean that is still would be a formidable team.
Yeah, I have their whole entire roster was posted here.
Go ahead.
There's some depth there.
Yeah. Give me the whole roster.
Seth Curry, Joe Harris. I'm going to give you some
Seth Curry can shoot.
Seth Curry and Joe Harris can both shoot. Patty Mills is a veteran. Royce O'Neal's a veteran. TJ Warren is a good little depth swing man. Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton are the bottom guys. I mean, that's a good, and you have that with Durant, Simmons, and Irving. And when they made that trade, by the way, I know everybody wants to clown Ben Simmons. I feel like he fits more in there than James Harden.
Absolutely.
Because you need somebody who I think doesn't need the ball in his hands at all times. You need somebody to facilitate, play defense. I mean,
play defense.
I don't just look at Ben Simmons and say, oh, he's a done player. I don't like the way he handled everything in Philly. I think he's soft. Don't get me started on him with that. But on the court, he was asked to do way too much in Philly, probably, than he's able to do.
It's just a perfect place for him. It just say, dude, we need you to play defense. We need you to rebound. We need you to distribute the ball and take the pressure off Durant and take.
Nobody's asking you to shoot anymore.
No, it's a great fit. I mean, if they all would just shut up and play basketball, I don't mean it in a political sense. I mean, just concentrate on playing basketball and stop all the distractions, get off Twitter, get off social media, and zero in on winning a championship. They'd have a great opportunity to do so.
They're too talented not to figure it out. You have to think, right?
I mean, and may I say this, look, go get a professional coach. Steve Nash, I get it, go get a real coach.
There's a lot of talented coaches who have been passed up. Who've been passed up for the Steve Nashes of the world, the floor players.
I mean, I don't know who you could find that all these guys would really respect and dig into and buy into. I could throw out a few names, but just go get a professional coach, like a Mark Jackson. I think Mark Jackson.
There is some kind of stigma on Mark Jackson. I don't know what it is. Didn't he get hired by the Kings this year, I think?
Yeah, I did.
The Kings. I mean, he's set up for failure there because it's the Kings.
Yeah. No, I think he would be. I think he's too.
I think there's something. There has to be something about either words gotten out about his time with Golden State. I have to think either Curry or Clay or Draymond. He must have not jived with somebody there. And if that gets out, clearly he's done because it's weird, right?
Yeah, it is weird because he's a very successful coach. He's a very devout Christian. I don't know if that's too much for a lot of people, but I don't know what it is because he sure seems like he was a hell of a coach. And
we don't know.
We don't know, but I think a guy like that's universally respected. I think universally respected, who they could really buy into, that would work. It just seems like Steve Nash is not the guy. I'll just say that.
Sad when we get to talk NBA. And we have a team right down the road, and we don't get any. There's nothing to talk about. There's just nothing to say.
I think. I talked to somebody a couple weeks ago about this who knows a lot about the Magic, and I'm like, don't BS me. Like, is this real? Because I see a little bit of talent there. I see a little bit of
more
hope
talent
there.
Like there has been.
There's like they got a little something, and he's like, yeah, they do. He goes, I think they really do, but I don't want to get too excited because I know it's the Magic. But
Yeah, that's the one.
I think there's a glimmer of hope there. A glimmer of, I mean, you've had a top 5 draft pick for the last 20 years.
But they finally got lucky and got the first one. That's the problem. They've never sucked enough to get the first one, or the lottery has always gone against them.
Always go. They've had the absolute worst luck possible in the lottery.
Yes, in the last like 10 years of this rebuild. That's why they haven't really been able
But
to
even
rebuild.
when they've had the opportunity to draft the right guy, they miss.
Or they miss, like Mobamba.
Yeah. So there's always like guys that went 2 or 3 picks after him that have become superstars.
Or, like Jonathan Isaac looked good at the time.
Yeah.
He's never on the court.
Yeah. Too fragile.
Yeah.
But he's maybe and they're telling us that he's ready to play now. Like he's finally ready to play.
I don't know. We went a whole season. We didn't get a single update, and he just never played. I have no idea, but
so hopefully
there's some buzz there.
All right. We'll get back to talking some football next with our good friend TJ Reeves, who was up there for that Saturday night, whatever that was, in Nashville, and also for the Brady comeback. So we'll chat with TJ Reeves, Bucs sideline guy, when we come back. Stay with us. To make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Hi, my name is Mike Warner, a Navy vet. I've had problems with addictions throughout the many decades. Something saved my life, and that is the Heroes Mile program.
Hi, I'm Bill Lennox, retired Lieutenant General, United States Army. If you have any challenges in alcohol, drug, if you have PTSD, MST, think about Heroes Mile.
Heroes Mile, a recovery center for veterans by veterans. Call 1-888-VET-NOW2 to learn more or visit heroesmile.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Also brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It is a great time to make sure you have everything covered on your home. If you just put up a pool enclosure, any additions or anything like that, studies say 64% of people do not have everything covered, enough coverage on their home, which is your biggest asset. So call Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. An agent, an actual human, will answer the phone at an insurance company. That's right. And they will direct you and find out if you got enough coverage and shop it around for you, maybe save you some money. Italiano Insurance or ItalianoInsurance.com. All right, let's bring in our good friend TJ Reeves, Bucs sideline reporter. How was your trip to Nashville, my friend?
It was eventful, to say the least, for so many different reasons. Thank you, by the way. I think you and I were in contact at some point, but for the I don't try to pat myself on the back or make myself out to be important, but for the dozens and dozens and dozens that have been staying in constant contact with me over the last 4 or 5 days, I'm glad that you care. I'm glad that you care enough that you think I know what's going on with Tom Brady, and so all of you are inundating me with that. Some of it is, hey, how you doing? Hey, can we go hit a golf ball? Some of it is my wife. Whatever. But by and large, there's been a lot of stuff on that. So I am here for you, brother, on all fronts, including that preseason game. Although it's now Tuesday, do we have to go back and talk about that game?
I was going to ask if they had any good barbecue in Nashville. That's
right. Exactly.
And yet had the best barbecue of his life at Martin's Barbecue. So I hope you had a
I know you were giving me some recommends, and we did not go get barbecue on Friday night. They did have it was like George's Barbecue, I think, after the game. And I may or may not confirm or not. I may or may not have gotten a player doggy bag to go of that after the game. So I did get a little. I did not get that recommend that you had, but yeah, good time. But the game, I mean, there was not a lot of how should I put it? Not a lot of redeeming value to that game.
It was a
in
crap
terms
sandwich.
of like blocking, tackling, catching, the things that you would be looking for. There's not a lot there from that game the other night, but it's the preseason and we move on. And you love me for my stories. I do have a story. They need to hang in here for this interview because I have got an all-timer, JP. I have got an all-timer involving airport security.
Oh,
stand by.
Okay.
Stand by.
Right.
Coming up.
We'll cover some of the football here. So just from your vantage point, was there any redeeming qualities out there that you saw from some of these guys that are trying to make the team? Anything that caught your eye?
So you watch for individuals. So Leonard Fournette was out there, and Todd Bowles said we wanted him out there. And I understand this. He said this after the game, and then he said it in the Monday media meeting, Monday or Sunday morning. He said that we can't tackle to the ground in training camp. Where there's nobody going for his legs. There's nobody hitting him like he's going to get hit in the regular season. We needed that for him in a game in a small dose, which was 2 series for him to get out there. Now, there was one hit where he got whacked, and you're going, holy cow, it's a preseason game, but this is part of football. You've got to have that contact, and you're going to take risks. All right, so that was good to see. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, JTS, he looked good. Granted, it's not the first team right tackle for the Tennessee Titans. I understand that. You got to take all of this into account when you're watching what you're watching, but he looked good for what we saw out of the sample size. I'll tell you who else stood out. The rookie tight end, Ko Keefe, not only as a blocker, but brother, he ran down on special teams as a 250-something pound or bigger tight end and made a tackle on the opening kickoff of the second half. And then he ran down on punt coverage and made a tackle on punt coverage. You want to make the 2022 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's a way to endear yourself and help make the team is special teams. So those are some guys that flashed to me the other night. You're looking for individual things, and then you move on now to the final preseason game coming up.
Yeah, any sense of whether Brady's going to play, you think, in his final preseason game? He played a little bit last year. I think
correct.
He might want to get a little bit of run, but if Tristan Wirfs ain't playing, my quarterback ain't going out there.
Well, that's a concern.
It's not a good movie.
And it's a legitimate concern. So how do you weigh get him a little bit of work? You want him to work with Robert Hainsey versus don't take the risk. I think we will learn more about that here in the next day or so, where they're going to say, hey, we are going to need to have him out there, or maybe they're going to be cryptic and make us wait. It would not surprise me if he's out there for a series. You did so last year in the third preseason game at Houston. So there is precedent for that. And I believe we talked about this last week. I've done so many of these conversations in the last few days, they start to run together. If he does not play this week, then the last time he's in live contact with another team is the August 11th practice with the Miami Dolphins. As you know, you were out there watching all that.
But
so then if you move allowed to hit him, well, they weren't allowed to hit him. And if you move forward to September 11th and Sunday night against Dallas, that will have been a full month in between live stuff against another team besides your own team. So let's see if they do elect to play him a little bit. I would not believe it would be much beyond like a series, especially if they get a first down and run 4 or 5 or 6 plays just to get him the feel for that. But again, he's one of those. I hearken back. Somebody was telling me a story about Lawrence Taylor last night. Bill Parcells told this story about Lawrence Taylor because Lawrence Taylor was a holdout one year from the entire training camp and the entire preseason. They kept asking about Parcells. Are you going to play him in week 1 if he shows up? He goes, am I going to play him? He goes, I don't care if he gets here 15 minutes before the game. He's the best bleep pass rusher I have. Of course we're going to play him. So by that standard, if Tom Brady does not take a meaningful snap the rest of this preseason all the way up till September 11th, I'm not that concerned with the GOAT and him stepping out there and being able to do it. Let's see what they choose to do, but there you go.
I can see Parcells. If he shows up in bell bottoms and a tank top at halftime, I'm throwing him out there.
I'm playing him.
Absolutely.
I'm playing him. Yeah. And so there are difference makers. There are guys that are that way, that show up and can get out there and go. So we'll find out if that's the case. And there's obviously so much speculation about where he's been and what's going on. And I don't know that he's going to address that. I don't know how much you've talked about it. I haven't gotten to hear the first hour of the show, but he's not, my understanding, he's not obligated to talk this week because we're in the preseason.
No, so he's not obligated to talk until the Wednesday or Thursday before the Dallas game.
There's
no way he's going out before that. And from what I've heard,
well,
I don't know if you could back this up. He's refused all national requests.
Correct.
There have been many.
Probably.
From everybody. I mean, everybody wants a piece of Brady. And Today's Show wanted him, NFL Network. The NFL Network wants you, and you say no to your parent company.
Right.
He's not doing any interviews with anybody, and that's fine. But my entire monologue was basically this. This is the best thing that could have happened with Tom Brady. I think it was absolutely pre-planned. And we all want to, us in the media, we don't want to believe the official line. But I think in this particular case, I think it was spot on because, listen, mind, as I said, mind, body, and spirit. It's what TB12 is all about, right? It's not just your body being in perfect condition to play. It's your mind as well. And he needed to get right with his family and everybody else and be in the right headspace to go through this final season. And if he needed 2 weeks with the family to go do it, fantastic. And as far as football goes, this is a meaningless 2 weeks for him. I mean, for me, I'm glad he was away. Don't get hurt, and what could happen? He comes back yesterday and he's firing the ball like he's 25 years old. Right on, his arm looks fantastic. That's what happens when you have 11 days off in training camp. I think it's the greatest thing that they could have done for him. And now he's zeroed in, and then you know what else it did? It brought out all the detractors. Oh, he's not doing his normal routine. The Bucs are going to be a disaster. Perfect. Keep talking.
Check that box.
Call his number and talk directly to him. You don't have to because he's watching it all. So now he's got more motivation. I love it.
Right. And he had that motivation in 2020, especially when the team began to swoon in November. And we know that fueled him in part for the stretch run with his teammates. The only other variable would be if he were to play in the game with the Colts and play for a series, would he then be available after the game to talk about that? I don't know. I have no insight on that, and I'm thinking probably not anyway. If it's just one series in the first quarter, he's probably not talking after the game either. So we will play the waiting game, and I understand everybody's thirst, their desire to know what's going on here. We all want the final answer. We've all heard all kinds of things. The twins this morning, before we went to school, one of the twins pointed out that his oldest son's birthday was Sunday because she saw something about that
on social media.
Add that into the stew pot of what's going on and where he was. So there you go on the Brady situation. And then, as you mentioned, the offensive line is obviously a concern. So we saw Luke Gedeke. You like these stories. So I'm on the bus, and this is the first time that we're back to the protocols of 2019 where we're allowed to be not only on, in the hotel with the players, not only in the locker room, but for the team media, we're allowed to be around them on the bus or even eventually, hopefully here on the charter airplane, again, back to the 2019 protocols. So the buses were packed because everybody's trying to go on the earlier bus, and Luke Gedeke ends up sitting beside me. So guess who took up most of the two seats in our bus ride to Nissan Stadium? So I was talking to him, and he told me, I'm going to get the start tonight. I'm up with the ones because they wanted to look at him at left guard. And I know there were a couple of holding penalties, and he had some struggles, but this is part of what the preseason is for. You're not in the MAC anymore at Central Michigan.
You seem nervous?
He didn't know. He did not. And he was sitting across the aisle from Shaq Mason, who knew he was not going to play. And we actually started having a discussion about barbecue. And I brought up Memphis barbecue is the best barbecue. And Shaq Mason starts wagging his finger at me from across the aisle. Like, no. Like, I don't know if he was back in like Kansas City barbecue or North Carolina barbecue.
What did he say?
He didn't volunteer which one he liked better. He was just doing the Matumbo finger wave at me about Memphis barbecue when I'm talking to Luke Gedeke.
But didn't offer an alternative?
Did not. So anyway, I was, as I'm prone to do, I'm hanging with the offensive line. Yes. And Gedeke's telling me about playing. So they obviously are liking what they see. They took a look at him. Nick Leverett can obviously play left guard as well. Aaron Stinney had the injury late in the game and is now out. So what are they going to do at left guard between Leverett, and between Gedeke, or maybe another option? That's something they've got to try to figure out here coming up. So we'll watch the offensive line again in Indianapolis and how much that first unit, because Hainsey again played much of the first quarter of that game the other night. And it would not surprise me if he plays at least a series or two to get more reps Saturday. Yes, you're risking injury, but you also want to get him accompanied, especially if there's a loud crowd in Indianapolis in the Dome, those kind of, you can't replicate that. You can do your best to try to replicate it. You want to get some practice for that interior offensive line.
TJ Reeves joining us here. I agree with it. That to me is the biggest issue right now is the interior offensive line. I don't think it's a 5-alarm fire like the national media is making it out to be, but I would like to see the Bucs go out and get somebody, an interior lineman, somebody. I'd like to see them find a professional center who's done this before. There's certainly one on the market in J.C. Treader, who was ranked second by PFF last year. I don't know what the holdup is there, whether he wants too much money or the Bucs are just not interested. They think
maybe that's it. A theory is, keep in mind, without going too far into the weeds on the salary cap and how all this works, after the season begins, after the 53-man roster is set, now anybody that is out there as a free agent, whoever it is, and keep in mind, like Ndamukong Suh is still out there, Jason Pierre-Paul is still out there. There are several other players that were playing a year ago that are still sitting out there. So after week 1, you essentially aren't on a guaranteed contract anymore for the season. You are a week-to-week player. I just submit to you, maybe they are waiting for post week 1 to make a move with somebody, because then they're a week-to-week decision on, do we still need him this week? We're only obligated to him this week. If you do a deal with any player that is before the start of the season and they're on the 53, their 2022 salary is guaranteed and they count against the salary cap in that regard, whatever you're paying them. So just pay attention. The final roster is the final roster in name, but it isn't necessarily the final roster even after week 1 for a player to maybe be brought in. We'll see what happens.
All right. Any other insights vis-a-vis Bucs before we move on to maybe some big fight stuff? My man was telling me this weekend about the big UFC thing with Usman. I don't know if you saw that. You were doing.
I saw the kick late night, Saturday night. So the first thing on that story is we're on the bus, and the Dana White stuff about the Las Vegas Raiders is everywhere. So we're playing that, which is interesting. And it's not surprising that the Raiders were heavy in on trying to get Tom Brady to come play for them, and Gronkowski is a package deal. It's also not surprising to me that John Gruden didn't maybe want that. He would have to speak for himself.
Why not?
I guess apparently part of the thinking would be they were happy with Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is not Tom Brady in terms of demands and leverage to have those demands met. So that's part of the argument there too.
You're saying Gruden wouldn't have control or the spotlight.
I don't know so much about control. I don't know so much about the spotlight. You know what he wants, honestly? Most having been around him as long as I was, and you were around him as well, he wants to win. So, but by the same token, how much control over this? Because Gruden picked that situation. Yeah, he wants it done his way, and he picked that situation because he basically was the de facto personnel guy, everything, etc. with Mike Mayock. Yeah. So anyway, that was going on. The UFC fight was happening. We had some boxing going on. We had some other things going on. And then I promise you, the clincher story is coming whenever you're ready for the Nashville airport. You're going to want that.
So, like when everybody's on their phones playing the Dana White interview while you're on the Bucs bus.
So I was not on the bus with the players. I should be clear on that. But it was everywhere. It was everywhere after the game. Of course.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
I can tell you want another quick story on FanStream JP. I'm full of all the stories. So they were doing, Gronkowski and his brother were doing like the Gronk cast, right? Nick, you were watching this.
Yeah.
JP, I don't know if you were watching this. I was not able to see it. I'm not a big UFC guy, but they were doing like the Gronk cast where they were doing a separate broadcast, right? Or at least they were dipping in and out of those guys.
Yes.
So that was being done in a production studio in Orlando. And I know somebody on the production crew that helped set all of that up for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And there was 7 figures worth of equipment brought in, fiber to be able to be instantaneously hooked up to Salt Lake City and to Bristol and be able to triangulate and all of that. They set all that up. They tested it. So this person was standing right there. As he described it, he was right off camera about 5 feet from the Gronk brothers. And Dana White is saying this stuff on a monitor that's right beside him. They're on the monitor hookup. He's looking right at Dana White. And he goes, as soon as he said the Raider stuff and Tom Brady and Gronkowski, he goes, my eyes got big. And he goes, you should know the reaction immediately from Gronk was not wave it off. No, don't talk about this. Don't do it. It was like, yep, that happened. Yep, he's right. Yes.
He confirmed the whole thing.
Yes. So he said that was all legit. That was not the reaction. And then the second thing the acquaintance of mine was thinking was, we're going to be everywhere on the internet now. We're going to be all over social media, ESPN.com, UFC media, we're going to be everywhere for him saying this stuff.
Yeah.
So he was like, wow, standing there in the moment. Get your phones out and find out where we are. So there you go.
Gronk, that was the thing about it. Gronk not only confirmed it, but he also went on to say, hey, I'm glad it didn't happen. And I'm glad we went to Tampa Bay.
Sure.
Because I think their first, maybe this was their first choice. So, they were saved from themselves, because I think it would have been a disaster. I think it would have been a complete disaster. I certainly don't think they win the Super Bowl there. So coming to Tampa Bay was the best thing that could have ever happened to him. I don't care how the hell Tom got here. And, through that whole thing, I was pretty damn sure that Tom was coming to Tampa Bay. There were a lot of other suitors out there, but in the end, it was the best place for him. And
this roster, to your point, was a much better roster than the Raiders roster.
The coaching staff was much better suited for Tom Brady. In the end, if that's what he was thinking was the best place for him, he was dead wrong. But, there's listen, the 30 for 30 or the Brady Productions, whatever he's going to say when we finally get the truth to all this stuff, it may be more watched than the Game of Thrones House of Dragons openers the other night. I mean, everybody's going to be, because there's going to be so many questions that the whole episode on the 10-day sabbatical in the middle of training. Can't wait to see what really happens.
I still believe there will probably be a documentary, Buccaneer Done, ESPN 30 for 30 or whatever, on that 2020 season and all the craziness and the end of it and winning those playoff games and winning the Super Bowl at home. I mean, you have just so many different subplots. I mean, I still tell you that I finally had a moment at Raymond James Stadium at the end of the first half of the Super Bowl where I'm down there in the front row in the COVID restricted area, and Brady threw the touchdown pass, the second one to Gronk, and they're celebrating, and it's the Super Bowl, and I'm having a moment where I'm looking at going, am I really watching this? Am I really watching Tom Brady in a Buccaneer uniform throw to Rob Gronkowski in a Buccaneer uniform in a Super Bowl that's being played in Tampa? Again, that's Hollywood type stuff.
Even saying it now, I still think, did we watch that? Did that really happen?
It
like
did.
some things that's happened in the last 2 years that
I know
never happened. I mean, all over the globe. That's in the top 5. I mean,
it's crazy. It's crazy, but it actually really did happen. And
imagine this. Where's the Super Bowl this year? Miami? Is it Miami?
Phoenix. It's in Phoenix. Yes. So the Bucs are there Christmas weekend.
That's right.
And then the hope and the goal of every team is to be back in there the first weekend in February.
And as I sit here today and all the stuff that's gone on, I look at this roster and I look at this team and I look at the other teams around the league, and I say, why not us? I mean, why not the Bucs? I mean, they're as good as any team in this league. I'll look at the Rams, and they've lost some stuff, and repeating is so hard, so difficult to do. I look around the NFC, and I'm not seeing much, but I know the schedule is really, really demanding. The AFC, there's some.
It's brutal at the beginning.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole thing. What are you coming out of the first 4 games as? Are you
2-2, and I'm happy as can be?
Right, and if you're 3-1, that's a bonus.
You're ecstatic. Yeah.
And my God, if you somehow find a way to beat the Cowboys and beat the Saints in the first 2 games, and you have an opportunity now to take care of business at home against 2 more high-quality playoff caliber teams in Green Bay and Kansas City, and have a chance to be 4-0 off of that. That would be wild. That I don't think that should be an expectation. Of course, the team believes they're going to win every game. Every team believes we're going to win every game.
Yeah,
but
they'll probably be favored in every game.
I think everybody would take 3-1 right now if you were offering it.
Yeah, I think most people.
So how does the start of the season go, and then what happens from there? Because the schedule does soften up a little bit after that in October, and then it grinds again in November. But we'll see.
All right. Let's finish off the big coup de grace with the security story.
This is well worth it.
Okay.
All right. So Sunday morning, a lot of the media, Buccaneer fans, everybody got on the early flights. We were not on the early flights, did not get on the early flights. So we're on the nonstop at 12:45 Eastern time, 11:45 local. About 10:15, I'm going through the security checkpoint at BNA Nashville Airport. For the C&D terminal where Southwest Airlines is. So I go walking up, and this is the second time this happened on the trip. So I have a belt that the metal detectors don't like. So I put my bags on the conveyor belt. I walk through the metal detector. My belt goes off. Ding. So I walk back out the metal detector. I take my belt off. I walk around the guy who's put his bags on the belt, that are going through. He goes through the metal detector. I put my belt in the circular bowl to go through the metal detector. I walk through, no problem. I walk now around him to get to my bags, and his bags don't come off the conveyor belt right away. And we're standing there, and it's 30 seconds. And it's now like 45 seconds, and his bags don't come off, and they're now talking, looking at the screens. The TSA people have walkie-talkies, and they're talking to each other. They're
More
talking.
than 3.5 ounces of
So
something.
we're standing there. Stay tuned. We're standing there, and after about 60 seconds, I say, "Is everything okay?" And the TSA person says, "Everything is all right. I just need you to stand there and be patient." I said, "Okay." So the guy's looking at me. He goes, "I don't know what this is." I said, "Maybe the machine is broken." I vividly remember that's what I said to him. Maybe the machine broke and they're having a problem because they can't read whatever. Then I notice first sign of trouble, young Nick, first sign of trouble, JP, is there's nobody behind us coming through that X-ray anymore. There's nobody in the line. There's nobody behind us. So I kind of observed that. The next thing is he starts to get a little antsy and says, "Is there a problem with my bag?" He's kind of got a Southern accent. He's probably late 30s, early 40s. He's kind of heavy set, blue jeans, t-shirt, hat.
I think I know.
And they said, "Sir, we need you to just stand here for just another moment or two."
Well, we get your 7 guns out of your bag.
Oh, so I now volunteer. I just need to get my belt from the bowl that's in the thing. Can we not get that out? No, we can't touch anything.
Your Garth Brooks buckle.
Supervisor finally walks over. This is probably 90 seconds into it and says, "Sir, do you know that you have a firearm in your bag?" And he turns copy paper white. I kid you not. And his eyes get huge. And he says, "My gun is in the bag?" And he says, "Yes." He goes, "Okay, the first thing," and he says, "I'm going to slowly do it. I have a carry conceal permit." And he pulls it out with his wallet and shows it to him. And he goes, "And I need to let you know it's loaded." The TSA guy goes, "Oh, we know it's loaded. We can see that it's loaded."
They can see that?
And so apparently so, with the bullets in the gun. And so, oh yeah, X-rays are X-rays. Our tax dollars at work by the billions. So he says, "We have to have the airport police come take custody of the situation and of the scene here and of your bags. So we are waiting for them." Sure enough, here comes 2 airport policemen. Now there's about 6 or 7 TSA agents around us. And I'm going, I just want my 1995 belt from Target or wherever I got it. Steinmart. I don't think they're in existence anymore. I just need my belt.
Yes, they are.
So they finally get me my belt, and the guy is starting to freak out a little bit. And I looked right at him and I said, "You need to stay calm." And that was as much for him as it was, they're going to draw guns if you start to freak out. And I am going to have to dive under this table if that happens. So the last thing is he gets it. They have his bag. We're walking together. We're walking in the concourse, and he doesn't realize it behind him. They have him surrounded with about 5 or 6 people in case he goes to make a run for it or whatever. And he was calm walking with them. He was very contrite and upset, acting normally, that he genuinely did not remember the gun was in his bag. And they took him to a little side room right by the X-ray room, the security checkpoints. And presumably that's where they were going to question him more and arrest him, because that's what happens
you can't be
when
doing
you bring a loaded firearm through the checkpoint.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that ranks on the TJ stories on the JP show, but in 30 years of air travel, I've never been next to, hey, or party to, hey, he's got a loaded gun and we've all got to go into procedures now for that. And there we were at the Nashville airport.
Do you own a gun? TJ, do you own a gun?
I do not own a gun. No, I do not.
Do you own a gun? So I probably shouldn't say this, but how do you forget? How do you forget you have a loaded gun?
He was saying to the officers that he keeps that gun in various bags, and he did not remember that it was in that bag.
I want to get a gun. I mean, I really.
So he goes and I guess puts other stuff in the backpack bag, which was one that the gun was apparently in, and doesn't realize that it's still in there and loaded. By the way,
that boggles my mind. That
I'm with you. I'm with you on all the on all the gun safety, because the twins were actually asking me the same thing, because they were wanting to know if we've been hiding or keeping a secret from them that there's actually a gun in the house. And I said, no, there's not a gun in the house. And look, I have father-in-law that's a former 25-year St. Pete police officer. He's got firearms in his house. My brother-in-law is a St. Pete crime scene person. He's got firearms. So there's people that have them. There's people that carry them. But a friendly public service reminder on the JP show before I get out of here. The average citizen is not allowed to carry a weapon on an airplane. It's not for you. No,
just
you're not allowed.
Okay. Thank you for that. The great drama. You're such a great storyteller, TJ. All right.
I exaggerate you not. That is exactly what happened and how it happened. And I'm texting people going, you think Tom Brady's the craziest thing going on right now? Get a load of this story.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Glad you survived that.
Yes.
And lived to tell about it. So we appreciate that you have returned home. All right, my friend. We will chat with you next week, hopefully.
Always good to hang out with you. Let's see what happens in Indianapolis. Will Brady play or not? How much will the starters play or not? And then we're on to regular season football, which we like. So
I'll be going to Dallas with you.
All right, let's do it. Let's go find some barbecue there if we need to, whatever the case is. You guys be well. Whenever you need me, put the bat signal up.
All right,
all good.
You're the best, TJ. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. TJ Reeves, Bucs sideline guy, right there. Yeah, don't take your loaded gun on your carry-on. How do you forget that? I mean, I know I'm not a gun owner, so I don't carry a gun around, but I just I kind of remember what I'm putting in my bag before I go on a flight.
I just love how the second TJ said Southern accent, it was crystal clear where this story
300-pound
was going.
White guy,
yeah.
Southern accent.
I'm imagining bushy beard. The whole
stereotyping is terrible. It's it's ugly. It's ugly that you would do such a thing, but yeah, and that's not a bad thing. It's not criticizing it at all. He could be a good guy with a gun. You never know. It could be a bad guy with a gun. You never know. All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and finish up this train wreck of a show today. It's been amazing. Thank you very much for sticking through all these great stories. It's fantastic. You never know where it's going to go. We even talked NBA today. All right, we got to get to a couple other important stories that we will do when we get back. Stay with us.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost relative or love? Or a missing person and the police are not helping? An insurance adjuster who needs proof of injury. Hi, I'm Rachel D'Antonio from Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, Emerging Investigation. We have a proven track record of results. Local attorneys and insurance companies hire us to discover insurance fraud and crucial information in criminal cases. We can help in custody matters, and we devote a tremendous state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge industry surveillance techniques to get you trusted results. Larger corporate agencies can be more expensive and do not offer the personal level of customer service and interaction that we pride ourselves on. We are a family-owned business. Our professional experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach D'Antonio, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. Hey guys, if you're looking for a baller watch, one of those rollies or tags or any of those great brand watches. They've got a great selection at the Golden Diamond Source, gold chains, the fashion rings guys are wearing now, bracelets. Guys are wearing a lot of jewelry now. So it's not just for the ladies over there at the Golden Diamond Source. Go in there and find something you love. They'll have something in your budget. Always fun to go shopping over there. Great staff. They'll take care of you. If you're looking for an engagement ring, that's always the place to go. No question about it, because 0% financing for 5 years. You can get a ring, great big old ring for 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks a month. So you don't have to have a big ton of, big handful of cash to go in there and buy a ring. You can finance that sucker and still ask her to marry you. You don't have that excuse. I don't have any money to buy a ring. Yes, you do. Hopefully you got good credit. Head on over to the Golden Diamond Source. They will take care of you right there, and always working out well in the community too. They do great things with the Hands Across the Bay charity for domestic violence victims. So support those great companies here locally that support our community. None better than the Golden Diamond Source. 3800 Overton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Breaking news with our crack reporter, Nick Geddes here.
I'm sorry, what?
You're working on our crack reporter. The old dude's getting more money.
Still rolling. Nick Saban has signed
the old head, as you like to call him.
The old head, yes.
Yeah.
You're approaching that category.
Yeah. Hey now.
No, Nick Saban has signed a monster deal to remain at Alabama till 2030. Again, that's through 2030. Average pay of $11.7 million, so almost $12 million. I believe he passes Kirby Smart again as the highest paid head coach.
And back and forth we go.
There's been so many people saying, what if they win this year or next year? Nick Saban walks away, and now he's committing himself till he's 79.
He's got the Bear Bryant disease.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, the Bear felt like if he stopped coaching, he would die, and he was right. Not long after he retired, he passed.
And that's why my first thought on this was Bobby Bowden was 80 when he called it quits. Paterno was 84 when he called it quits / was forced out.
Yeah,
neither
one of those things ended well.
Neither of those tenures ended well, success-wise. Will Nick Saban break that trend? And I tend to side with because I just feel like in this modern day of college football, things are different than they were when Bowden and Paterno were coaching. I think it's easier to keep it going now.
I'm really surprised that he's committing for that long with the NIL and the disaster that is college football right now, just in terms of the lack of control.
But it's because it's easy for him.
It's easy for him, yeah. But still, there's a lot of BS to deal with. But you know what? You're right, though. For him, they're going to have the NIL money. They're still going to get the best players. He's still going to go out there every single week and have a dominant advantage over other teams almost every single week in terms of talent.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, he had a taste of the NFL, and I laugh at the prospects at every year when they start talking about, Nick Saban's looking at the Jaguars job. Nick Saban's looking at that dude. Ain't ever going back to the NFL, and not even a sniff of it. Why? Because why would you? Why would you want to coach in a league where every week the talent's the same? If you can coach in a league where every week you have a dominant advantage, almost every week a dominant advantage over the other team, it makes you look really smart. Makes you look like a great, and he is. He's the best college coach I've ever. Look, I'm a Bobby Bowden sycophant, right? I think Bobby was the greatest coach of all time for his time. And what he was working with and what he did with that program, it was perfect situation. But if you have to look at the overall, winning percentage and championships won, you just, as much as I love Bobby Bowden, I can't sit here and say that he was a better coach than Nick Saban.
I think, I don't know how you phrase it, maybe best program turnarounder. I don't know. I don't know if there's a buzzword for that. Just somebody find it for me, but I'll just call it program turnarounder or program lifter, because it wasn't really a program when he got there.
No, they're thinking about dropping football when Bobby came there.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, he didn't have a conference to work with.
Yeah.
Like a conference notoriety like the SEC. They were in the freaking Metro when he got there. They were an independent in football.
Yeah.
They didn't have the SEC to go back on. So if you look at it in terms of that, I think Bobby was a better coach.
Yeah.
He got more out of less than Nick Saban did. I'll argue that all day long. But Nick's sustained success at such a high level and in such a competitive era is unmatched. It's unmatched.
Yeah, and I don't usually put Paterno in there, not because of all the stuff that happened, but I know he won the most games until they were all taken away. But I still say he didn't win enough because he didn't win enough. He didn't actually win enough big games, national championships, for me to put him in that status. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, Nick
I
Saban,
still, knowing what we know about what went on there, you talk to people that played under Joe Paterno, they'll tell you what an amazing man he is. And I would never take away any of that. And he did so much good for so many people. But the bad stuff was really bad, really bad. And the fact that he had that quote and, I should have done more. And you go look at all the evidence, and I'm going to retry this whole disgusting thing, but he covered for that dude.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's hard to get past that for me, but whatever. Saban is still the best of all time when you looked at everything that came into it. And I don't know. I don't think he's going to last till 2030. I think he'll call it quits before then.
Maybe.
But
he's like, don't you want to go retire and spend time with the wife? I mean, I don't understand. If I'm 71 years old, I don't know what I'll be doing, but I better not be signing extensions to continue my work. Career,
but I guess you guys like that. It's their life. They can't breathe without it.
The greatest of all times never want to call it quits.
Yeah.
Brady, Jordan, Tiger Woods.
If I had that much money, there's so much I want to do with my life besides coach football.
Right?
Good God. Yes. Go travel, for God's sakes. Go do. But hey, everybody's different. Everybody's wired differently. All I can say is, dude, you're the best that's ever done it. So congratulations. All right. Thanks to Scotty Reynolds from Pewter Report. Great interview with him today. Go back and check that out if you missed it. TJ Reeves as well. Our open monologue on Tom Brady. Great stuff there. We do say so ourselves. Every day, 2 hours, Tampa Bay centric sports talk right here on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Rays.